Alrighty, welcome to the show. My name is Nick, and this is Mike. We will be your host today on the Fantasy Awards Show, the second annual Fantasy Awards Show, might I say. Mike, you excited for today?
Oh, I'm super pumped. Is it the best part about the season being over?
So we have 10 awards to go through, and of course we have the way too early predictions for next season. It wouldn't be an award show without the way too early predictions. So here we go, starting us off, biggest draft steal. It's going to be
Tarik Cohen.
Cohen, baby.
On Lynch Mob.
Lynch Mob. Drafted in the 9th round. Tarik Cohen was running back 17 this season, and he proved to be a very valuable running back too for Robbie's playoff run this season, actually.
Yeah, he came up huge when it really mattered in Week 13 in a win or go-home matchup against myself. Now, he not only had 12 catches for 156 yards that
12
week,
catches.
but he threw a touchdown on top of that.
156 yards.
When I thought it couldn't get any worse, he threw a touchdown.
Here's your fourth down play, last play of the game, trickery.
He's an absolute stud, a steal in the 9th round. If you look at the draft board here, you don't find many valuable players in the 9th round. Jacksonville's defense won in the 9th round. I mean, you could have definitely had Tarik Cohen, but TZ, you decided to take Jacksonville's defense, which was a BUST must. We're moving on to another one of my favorite awards. I know they're all my favorite. This one's great. This one is just amazing. Biggest draft bust. Mike, you want to go announce the winner here?
And this guy, he used to be my boy. Taking second overall, Le'Veon Bust Bell.
Yeah, baby.
Real quick,
Pull
let's
the
see.
chart up.
All right, let's pull the numbers
Pull
up.
the chart up.
Oh, and look at that.
Awful. So consistent. He should have won.
He could have won Mr. Consistency.
He should. Oh, we haven't announced that award yet. But
he was this year's Ezekiel Elliott, but worse, because this guy literally never showed up to play.
Just like last season's biggest bust, David Johnson, neither of these players played all season.
He didn't want his money, and he said, "Hey, Chris, you don't need any money either." Just really a sad story for fantasy owners all over the world.
And then, Mike, this is the second year in a row that the number 2 pick in the draft didn't play the whole season.
Wow, that's true. If you take note of trends, you're looking at that, you're saying, I do not want number 2 pick.
Stay away from number 2 pick. It's a trend, it's a curse, and Chris did not end up finishing on the street corner, thank God, so he did improve from last season's events, but came close. I'll tell you that for a fact, he came close. We're going to actually move on to the new awards this year. These are going to be fun. Looking forward to these. We're going to start with Mr. Consistent. One of my personal favorite players in the league, Davante Adams, on Return to the Big Mac.
Davante Adams. And this
boy,
guy,
was he consistent. Mike, pull his numbers up.
Now, let's take note of Week 7. For some stupid reason, they included his bye week in this. That's the only reason there's that huge drop-off in Week 7. Never had less than 8 points in a week that mattered.
Season. Yeah, and the 1 week he had 0 points. It didn't matter for us. He knows his owner did not need him in Week 17, and it showed on the chart.
A true fantasy stud. Sat out Week 17 because he knew in Fire Fantasy, Week 17 is irrelevant.
Done.
Came up huge on a Monday night game for Travis when he was down to his rival by double-digit points entering Monday night. Commissioner Nick Chioka actually texted going into the night, having faith in Davante Adams, saying, quote, Adams is going to go off tomorrow. Trav going to come back and win. End quote. Guess what he did that night? 10 catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns to lead the comeback.
Call it a night. Round the troops up. Davante Adams, Mr. Consistent. Here, Casey claims Richard Sherman's going to lock him down. I never heard of the guy. Never heard of him. Congratulations, Trav.
Great guy.
A good pick in the 2nd round. So the next award is pretty much the definition of a boomer bust play.
This was another blowout award. I don't think there were many people that could compete with this guy for how inconsistent he was.
Ooh, Amari the Bust Cooper?
Amari.
Was he a bust? Look at these numbers though.
Now, in his defense, the first 7 weeks, he was on a horrible team. Well, when he was traded to the Cowboys, he eventually ended up blowing up a little bit.
A little bit.
Still very inconsistent. You had his Thanksgiving showdown, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also, in games where he played, he had 3 goose eggs. In games that he was actively playing in. He wasn't injured.
Fun fact about Amari Cooper here. Pull these transactions up real quick.
I mean, he was all over the place because no one knew what to do with him. You never knew if you could start or sit this guy.
3 teams, 1 season. Not really a recipe for success. So next award we have up is going to be Best Trade of the Year. This year, the Trade of the Year is going to be Travis trading Rodgers and Dalvin Cook to Kenny's team for Ezekiel Elliott and Kirk Cousins. That was the Trade of the Year.
Rip off.
So we're going to go ahead and reenact this for you. This is pretty much how Travis won the entire championship game. And yes, Kenny is still back too throughout this trade. In this reenactment, I'm going to be Kenny the Goat Tran, and then he is going to be Travis Lewis from Fort Lauderdale. Enjoy. Travis is gone? Hey, what's up, Trav? Oh, dude, just hanging out in Tally, man. Living the best life I can up here. I think I'm going to the strip later, dude. I got some bitches coming out. I'm pumped, bro. Call about fantasy. Oh, yeah, dude. I can talk. I got like maybe 10 minutes before I got to go. What's up? I know my team sucks this year, dude. I'm trying not to make it on the street corner, but I'm honestly having serious quarterback issues, dude. Yeah, I would definitely be interested in Aaron Rodgers. He is the GOAT. Ooh, yeah, I would love to have Dalvin Cook on my team, too. Dude, he went to FSU. Both of those guys? I'll give you pretty much anybody for those two players. Ezekiel Elliott? Just give me a couple minutes. Let me just call my fantasy advisor just to see if he thinks it's a good trade, but I'm most likely in on that.
Kenny, my boy, how's it going? Doing good. Just got off a call with you, actually. So you're saying, wait, you get Rodgers and Cook? Cook went to FSU. Rodgers is the GOAT. You got to give up your best player. You got to make moves. If you want to avoid the street corner, you got to go through with this trade. You know what? Just throw him Cousins yet for the heck of it. You just saw there, the trade went through.
A little background information. Trav and Kenny are really good buddies.
A lot of people sensed collusion.
It's going to be investigated in the offseason. So the next award is going to be Waiver Wire Pickup of the Year. Now, this year was one of the toughest years for this award. James Conner, Philip Lindsay. But the best one out of all of them was, drumroll please, Patrick Mahomes.
And this is a clear favorite. I mean, you couldn't really justify giving it to anyone else. This guy's also in the running for MVP, the top quarterback of the year.
I also have a good quote from Trav. Thank God I dropped Case Keenum for Patrick Mahomes before the season started, end quote. And I just feel like that quote right there and that move right there could have actually won him the championship. This award actually leads right into our next award. Let's go right into it. Manager of the Year. There's two guys top my list. The runner-up in this situation was Jared. Won 9 straight games, won first place in the regular season. Unfortunately for him, though, the injury bug and
the domestic violence bug.
The Manager of the Year here, leading up to that Mahomes pickup, Travis Lewis here. Looks like he's sweeping these awards, but for good measure. Mike, why did Trav win Manager of the Year?
It's pretty clear from the awards that he just won. He just won Waiver Wire Pickup of the Year. He won Trade of the Year.
Most consistent player on his team.
He drafted well.
I know.
He won trades, and he capitalized on the waiver wire. I mean, he did everything you need to do as a fantasy manager.
After starting the season slow, remember, you and me were both talking about we think Trav was the favorite to be on the street corner after week 6. Are you freaking serious? Yes, I am freaking serious, Trav. Your team is the worst at the moment. No depth. You need to trade Mahomes, my personal opinion.
It's early, but Travis was my prediction to be on the street corner this year.
Psychic. I thought Trav was going to be on the corner. He thought Trav was in the corner. Trevor thought Trav was in the corner. Took an L, and then he bounced back, just like Big Sean. All right, moving on to our next award. It would not be the Fire Fantasy Awards if we didn't do Matchup of the Year. Mike and Nick's matchup last year was the Matchup of the Year, and this year was the same, unfortunately.
Listen, we're pretty impartial.
We are. We don't ask for this to happen to us, especially me.
I will admit, I do ask for this to happen. It's why I play fantasy. Even though I missed the playoffs this year, this was probably the high point of my season. It was the last victory of my fantasy season, unfortunately.
Let's get right into it here, Mike.
This matchup started on Thursday night with myself having 2 key fantasy players in that Thursday night game. My quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, and my wide receiver, Antonio Brown, arguably my 2 most valuable players. They showed up. Big Ben threw 5 passing touchdowns that game. 1, a deep bomb to Antonio Brown. The Steelers blew out the Panthers 52-21. I'm a big Steelers fan. I'm thinking I'm sitting pretty in this matchup. With a 50-0 lead, we enter the Sunday games.
50-0, I'm down.
Nick Chubb had been picked up by Nick a little bit ago, but had not really broken out yet. And man,
had a couple of good games. Nothing crazy, though.
Today, he decided to break out at the right time.
Right, got me 32 points. That is awesome from running back, too. Couldn't ask for more. His best game of the season.
Ran for 176 yards, including a 92-yard touchdown
at the end of the game.
92 yards for a Browns touchdown. The longest run in Cleveland Browns franchise history.
Then you had Michael Thomas.
Good matchup. I called it. Great matchup. Almost got 20 points against the Bengals.
Caught 2 touchdowns in the 1 o'clock games.
Then my boy Keenan Allen had a good game, too. You know, you can't forget about Keenan Allen here, Mike.
Rivers and Keenan Allen connect on a touchdown just before the half of the 4:15 games, and at that point,
It's over.
it's
over.
It's pretty
Look
much
at the
set.
score.
So we enter the Sunday night game.
Sunday night football game. All we have left is Zach Ertz on Mike's team and the Eagles defense on my team. So I'm winning by 21 points going into Sunday night football.
I have a hard time admitting this, but I didn't watch the game.
Didn't even watch the game.
I had already given up. I had conceded.
These kind of things happen to me every season. I watch the game thinking like I know it's not over. I'm gonna watch it just to make sure I win.
What happened next will forever be remembered in fantasy history.
At halftime,
Zach Ertz
wasn't doing anything. Next thing I know, touchdown Ertz.
Touchdown Ertz. It's
Touchdown.
not over.
Another
Still
drive by
hope.
the Eagles. Another drive by the Eagles. They drive down the field to the 2-yard line. Then they decide to throw it to him. Another touchdown. 2 touchdowns. Now he's down by 4.
If the Eagles defense gives up 59 more yards and a touchdown, I tie the game. With the Cowboys having 75 yards to go in order to score a touchdown, this was certainly feasible. Touchdown, it's a tie game. And I got Ertz coming back on offense. It's 4th and 7, but Ertz still needs a 7-yard catch to win me the game. Just short of the marker, they review it. This call gets overturned, I'll win the fantasy matchup. The call was upheld. Ertz was short by a yard from winning me the matchup. Philadelphia gets one more chance. With less than a minute to go, it's back to Ertz, and the victory was mine. The
That was
victory
one of the worst
mine.
losses in my whole entire career. So we are moving on to Mike's personal favorite award.
This is my favorite award.
This award really comes down to the player or the owner who had the best moment in the season.
Moments are why we play fantasy football. To experience sometimes heartbreaking moments, sometimes thrilling moments. This right here was the best moment of the year.
It was.
And it comes down to a week 13 scenario where Casey and Jared were competing for the number 1 overall seed. $100 on the line.
First place regular season champion, too.
Now, Casey was up by half a game. He had the advantage. He needed to either beat Nick or Jared needed to lose to Travis. Early on, it was pretty clear that Casey was going to lose to Nick.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the box score, dude. This is pretty hilarious.
Now, this was not a contest. And
Casey,
and I'll
give me
tell-
some competition, man.
Casey, who had been heavily invested in the Saints all season,
Heavily.
had a 13-10 loss on Thursday night to the Cowboys early on that put Casey in a horrible position. Breeze put up 8, Kamara put up 6.
Saints or bust.
Those are his 2 best players, and they combined for 14 points on Thursday night. So Casey, all of a sudden, turned his attention to the Jared-Travis matchup. This matchup,
Big one.
it looked like it was in Travis's favor, meaning Casey didn't even have to beat Nick, thinking like, all right, Travis, my hated rival, can just win this game for me. We're entering the 4 o'clock games, and Travis has a sizable lead on Jared. However, the Chiefs play at 4 o'clock, which you would think would be in Travis's favor because he has Pat Mahomes. You have to remember that Jared also had Travis Kelce and Harrison Butker.
His 2 best players.
Nobody on his team had scored more than 10 points. Harrison Butker, his kicker, put up 11. And Travis Kelce put up 28
Career high.
points.
28.
If Vikings defense could get at least -2 points, Travis would have won. If he would not have started a defense, he would have won.
Trav decides he's cool, and he quotes, this is a quote from Trav, "Oh, I thought the Vikings would get more sacks." End quote. That's your champion, folks. Congratulations. Let's move on here. And we're coming down to the end. We all know what the last award is. Who's going to win MVP? We have 3 awesome finalists for MVP. Saquon Barkley
Saquon
of Team Trevor. Rookie of the Year candidate in real life. He was running back 2 on the season.
lived with that manager. He loved watching Saquon run.
Runner-up number 2, Patrick Mahomes. He had an MVP-like season. The moment we've all been waiting for. MVP this year is, drumroll, who else but Todd Gurley, baby.
Back-to-back
Todd
MVP seasons.
Gurley, back-to-back MVP seasons. It's pretty obvious if you have Todd Gurley on your team in this league, you will at least make a finals appearance. I don't think I've ever had a player this good on my fantasy team before. Just outright dominant every week, consistent. Him and Mahomes, it was a close toss-up really there. We decided to go with Gurley because of the numbers he's putting up at the position. It's harder to find than seeing the numbers Mahomes puts up at the quarterback position.
Fair argument.
All right, now it's time for the final part of our segment today. the way too early predictions. 2019 edition. I'm excited for these, Mike. These are fun. Last year, we came kind of close. Let's start with last place street corner predictions for next season. Let's run this down 60 seconds. What do you got? Last place.
Last place on the street corner.
Last place in the corner. Who do you think?
Here it is. I got Trevor Fleming.
Ooh, really?
I've watched plenty of football games with this guy. He's too pessimistic of a manager. Eventually, the pessimism is going to catch up to him. It hasn't yet. It's going to affect his team. He's always had a top running back. I don't think that he might not find that guy this year. His team's always relied heavily on a top running back.
For sure. I'm going bold this year. I think something's going to happen that really a lot of people don't expect. Last place next season, I'm going Travis Lewis, our current champion.
The current champion?
Yeah, that is the reason why behind Travis Lewis. He has had this monkey on his back since he started playing fantasy with me in 2013. He's been wanting to win a championship. He gets the job done this season. Next season, he kind of plays it light. Current champ. I'm just going to take Mahomes in the first round. I think you get confident. I think you're on the corner. I think you're battling with a couple players. It's going to be a close one, but you'll be on the corner.
I'll tell you, Casey will enjoy watching that.
All right, Mike, keeping this rolling real quick here. Who you got for the championship next season?
This person has been on the street corner before. The only person to ever actually experience the street corner. And I think when you go through
You're not picking him.
Chris Brumetti.
Wow. Prediction.
I think that when you go through such a traumatic event like that, like the street corner, you bounce back. He got a little unlucky this year. His top two draft picks were complete busts. I don't think he's going to get that bad luck this year. Learn from his mistakes, like any good fantasy owner, and he's going to win a championship.
Well, I'm going to stay also in the same category with that, Mike. This guy also, I think, will learn from his mistakes this season. I'm going with Kenny Tran.
Kenny Tran?
Kenny Tran.
He was almost on the street corner this year,
A guy who was battling for the last place just a few weeks ago. I think it's going to happen. He gets a couple studs in the later rounds. And the big thing, he stopped listening to his fantasy advisor. Word on town, I saw it on Twitter this week. He might be out.
Wow.
Travis might be out as Kenny's fantasy advisor. If Kenny hires himself a real fantasy advisor, maybe himself would be a good hire. I think big things could be in store for Kenny Tran next season. Mark my words right now. That about does it for the Fire Fantasy Awards Show 2019
Hope you enjoyed it.
Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next season for another round. Thank you to our sponsors, Big Guys Basketball, for providing us with video footage for the broadcast tonight. And good luck next season.